Guys, welcome back. Okay, I'd like to say that obviously over the break we just had a few jokes which we'll catch up with, towards the end of the show. But I think now it's time for the guest of the week. So, our special guest of the week, you've already met him, okay? He is the master of the camera, the king of production, and clearly we've heard him as being the master of spin as well. He is a creative cultural educator, wonderful with documentaries. It gives me great pleasure and the great honor of reintroducing Mr. Mohsin Abbas.
Well,
Sir, how are you?
Well, I think with that, you've totally lied about me, so that's good. I'm glad we got that over with.
I know, but you paid me the £5 to say that as well.
Yes, right. Actually, there's a string on that £5. I'm going to pull it back. Check your pocket. Is it still there? I doubt
Clearly
it.
You've been watching the show last week, with Raza's pranks. Excellent. Well, look, Mohsin, we have to obviously say first and foremost, thank you very much for coming on, okay? And, co-hosting the show with us. It's been an absolute honor to have you. I mean, obviously, you've led a very sort of interesting life. You do some very interesting things as well, So do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do?
Well, basically, my background is film and television, but honestly, what's motivated me throughout my life is how, as a Muslim, you can kind of create an impression within the society that you are and make an impact with your Islamic ethos, philosophy. But I've tried to do it in out-of-the-box ways.
What do you mean?
Well, the thing is, most people, when you talk about Islam and Muslims, there's this standard thing. Brother, do you follow Sharia? Brother, which Aqidah are you? Brother, you see, everything is about dry polemics.
Yes. Yeah.
And people's definition of Islam is purely through the jurisprudential or the legal framework. Now, one of my things that I challenged a lot of my ulama brethren as well, and we have great discussions about this, and quite often most of them agree. I say, is Islam only jurisprudence? No, it's not. It's creativity, it's a holistic deen, it's a way of life, it's spirituality, it's irfan, it's philosophy, it's humor, it's kind of art, it's everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's in every aspect of your life. And for us to whittle it down ultimately just to a dry, legalistic, jurisprudential framework, I think is a big mistake, because what I recognized very quickly early in my life was that the two biggest cultural forces in the world today, and it's cultural forces, were Bollywood and Hollywood.
Absolutely.
Right. Because what permeates society is culture and storytelling.
Sure.
And creativity and art, through whether it's advertising, whether it's through film, whether it's through radio, whether it's through social media now. Honestly, the visual and the creative is what changes people's mind.
Sure.
How many English people, I thought, do I know that would like to talk about, Asul-e-Din?
Yeah.
The polemics.
Of course.
They don't want to know. They want to know about you as a human being, about what you do, what you eat, how you live, and what you do. And Islam has something for all of these issues. Yet, we've pigeonholed ourselves into this little narrow area of polemics. And one of my missions was to say, well, we're going to reclaim deen. We're going to reclaim Islam in its holistic sense.
How would you do that? How have you gone about that?
Well, I think I've done it partly through choice and partly through accident. Some of it has been coloured by, it originally started off as quite a socio-political thing, setting up youth centres, because I thought that we were, youngsters at that time were being socially engineered to become secular, atheist almost, and just adopting secular values at the expense of spirituality.
Sure.
And I remember we had an interesting time trying to convince people in Watford that setting up youth clubs and having sports clubs and football teams, which I ran at that time, and cricket clubs, that was in a way going to keep young people locked in. Even things like Qawwali, so a lot of mystical, creative arts. I promoted Aziz Mia and Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan back when they were in their heyday, and it was controversial because brother, music is haram. Well, look, come on, give me a bit break, because not all music is haram, and define it.
Even Imam Ali here, he had a duff at his wedding as well. He had the drums at his wedding.
Yeah.
So when people do come out, they're saying, "Oh, it's haram." Well, look, there are, we've got to take it in the context in which we're dealing with it. Now, obviously, you do a lot of work with documentaries, productions, and things like that. How did you get into this?
Well, I studied a radio and television course at Westminster University way back. and then joined the BBC straight away. Joined BBC World Service as a freelancer, worked at BBC Programme Services again, and as a producer, reporter. And then I stumbled across a lovely friend of mine, Mahmoud Jamal, who was working with Farouk Dondi at Channel 4 when it was first launched.
Sure.
And Channel 4 was this go-getter, we're going to promote lesbianism and gay rights, and we're going to promote the ethnic minorities and the black culture. Yeah. And it was a very out there thing. And so Muslims were, and we were generally lumped in with gay people and other people. But it was really interesting how we were put into this box. But nonetheless, Channel 4 was out there saying the alternative counterculture to BBC establishment.
Of course.
So I joined that production company. We made interesting programs and always Islamically orientated. We went for shows like Islamic Conversations, and way back then interviewed Sheikh Fadlallah of Hezbollah way back then.
Oh my goodness.
We interviewed people like the Iranian ambassador to the Vatican.
Sure.
So followed his life in trying to do things way back in the 80s, and now we're talking 90s, early 90s. And along with that, it was documentaries like more light-hearted documentaries, which were more about sociocultural and identity issues, like Apache Goes Indian.
Oh, yes, yeah.
So looking at somebody like Apache Indian, who was a phenomenon at that time, taking him back to Jalandhar via Bombay, looking at rich and poor through the streets, and everything from parrot astrologers through to bear baiters, and taking him through the Jackie Shroffs and the whole Bollywood scene, and seeing how he reacted to rich and poor India. That was one of the programs, the kind of thing we did. But Islamically, I mean, we even did things like the first Premier Asian footballers within the Premier League, Goals and Dreams, was a documentary that I
What was this?
This is mid-90s, late 90s.
It's probably before you were born.
I was about 6, 7.
You were still, I'd say, I could have changed your nappies about that.
You can still change his nappies now.
Do you still wear nappies?
Nah,
you too?
Do not.
He'll never admit that on
I mean, we still haven't gone out
he'll never admit that on TV though, But I've got to say, Mohsin, though, obviously, the line of what you've gone into, media, creative arts. I mean, I remember when I was growing up, my dad would say, Beta, you're going to be doctor, engineer, accountant.
Choose one.
You choose one. Even if I wanted to, obviously the Asian mindset is like, you go into media, you're some sort of, a bad person.
Rebel, and you're just.
But I mean, obviously, what is your take on that? I mean, how did people around you take the fact that you've chosen this line of work?
Well, it was. People didn't understand it, first of all, but I think there was a kudos about the BBC.
Yeah.
So having got involved with them and Channel 4, a lot of it was, how did you do that? And to be honest, it was perfectly accidental. It wasn't anything.
And I'm sure it must have been quite difficult at that time for an Asian person to break into that sort of scene as well.
Well, literally, there were only about 3 production houses, which there was Tariq Ali doing Bandung File in those days. There was Darkus Howe, who did Devil's Advocate. And then there was the Jamal brothers, who were doing a lot of the documentary end.
Sure.
So I stumbled into this area, and documentaries, I love doing documentaries and researching and going into different communities. And it was tough because since then, actually, in reality, I can't name any Asian producers that actually produce for Channel 4 anymore directly.
Really?
I mean, I think there's one lady who still got contracts, but once they closed the multicultural department down, it actually just became, because it's the middle class elite.
Sure.
It's a preserve which is there for the posh guys who come out of first division universities who want to have a bit of a kind of an eclectic background. So even within the mainstream, it's an elitism there.
Yeah.
And I sense that we haven't progressed really in terms of integration of Muslim producers in mainstream television. They only brought the multicultural channel back when what was her name? The Bollywood actress who basically was racially abused on Big Brother.
Oh, was it
Aishwarya
Rai that went on there? No, it probably wasn't. I don't know.
There was another
Shilpa Shetty. Clearly a Bollywood lover, but yeah.
He's on the ball.
He is, isn't he?
I just watched the episode.
So it's extremely tough even now, and money is tough, because the thing is, our parents, in a way, they say, well, go to the corporate job, become a corporate Muslim.
It's a safer lifestyle.
Become a doctor.
I mean, you can't really blame them, to be honest. I mean, I think we created. Do you feel it's a bit of a risk? I mean, like you're saying, Is it hard to get into the whole documentary producing scene for Asia now, or was it harder
It
back
is.
then?
It still is very hard. It's hard to push your stories and make a living from it.
Right.
But the problem is, if you don't do this, my biggest problem in terms of my campaigning for Muslims in the creative fields is this. If you don't, I mean, if you name me 5 Muslims who've made an impact on British culture.
Probably Mehdi Hassan being the first one.
Exactly.
Well,
And that's the only one that I could think
but
of.
he's not cultural, he's political. Name me culturally, Amir Khan, perhaps, is the boxer,
Yeah.
is the only culturally recognizable person, Mo Farah now,
Yeah.
for British audiences that might identify them as Muslims.
Yeah.
Now, the black community that came at the same time as us, the Afro-Caribbean community,
They've excelled.
whether it's music, whether it's arts, whether it's sports, they're recognizable as a mainstay of British society. Muslims haven't done that. And I think that's a major, major danger, because if you don't have a cultural voice, the average man on the streets doesn't know you. He knows you through your tandoori tikka masala,
Of course.
but even that is Indian.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I discussed the other day. Why is it called India when it's mostly Pakistani for cooking?
mostly
the
the
food, as in-
Muslim food industry is
Yeah.
there. Moroccans, Lebanese, Pakistani. We're there, but actually every time, you know, for Muslims to make a cultural impact on the minds of mainstream media is hugely important. Why? Because drip, 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 every other second you're getting terrorist, 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 burqa, FGM, forced marriage,
Yeah.
niqabs, you know, you name it. Everything that goes on the news is negative.
Agreed. Agreed.
So we need to make a cultural invasion of mainstream media.
You see, I think I totally agree with you, and I honestly personally feel as well that obviously, Raza, you said, is it a safe industry to get into? I
Exactly.
honestly think that, look, let's be honest, right? Okay, if our Asians aren't going to really take that step forward, okay, and get into this, we're never going to move forward, because we have to move with the times, okay. Yes, granted, maybe back in the day of our parents, or even back in my day, you know, it was a very risky thing to get into. You know, it wasn't considered a stable job. But let's be honest, okay, it's all about creativity, okay. If we as an ummah, as a society, as a culture want to move forward, we have to take advantage of the media, the mainstream media out there. I mean, let's take, for example, this show, okay. Now, Mohsin, I'll be honest with you, we've had a lot of criticism on this show.
Sure.
We're like Marmite, either you love us or you hate us. You know, the amount of people that have called in saying, oh brothers, what you're doing is very bad, you're a Muslim, you cannot do this. Well, why can't we do this?
Because Islam is boring. They've made
Islam
they
boring.
want Islam to be this thing which is actually, you know, you don't laugh, you have no humor, you take it very seriously. And yes, but I would challenge anybody that the Prophet, peace be upon him, even in the hadith of the Bukhari, there are clear examples of the humor of the Prophet.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the humor of the Imams and the humor of the companions as well. So therefore, to be honest, to eradicate humor and culture from within Islam is like having an oasis and a desert.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like saying, what is better, an oasis or a desert?
Yeah.
I mean, both have their beauty, but the desert is much tougher,
Totally.
and much drier, and much harsher.
Totally. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, if there is somebody out there that is looking to sort of get into this field, into this area, what advice could you give them?
I would say, first of all, you've got to, I think, be in circles where
Yeah.
you can exercise your creativity. You've got to also be prepared to really, you know, dedicate. It's like anything. You've got to have talent.
Yep.
You've got to have good people who recognize that talent and get yourself in the position where
Sure.
people can see you, and then believe in yourself. And then go and meet the masters of that field.
Sure.
And learn. It's almost like, you know, doing internships, and you've got to really kill comedians, or, you know, these are or kind of artists. You know, they're never going to make money.
Yeah.
And then you've also got to say, look, am I the sort of person who's going to be a corporate Muslim alone? Is that what is going to satisfy me?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and to me, I think the fact that we, as en masse, we're all going to the safe, what I call production line jobs, to be a doctor, to be an engineer, that's not going to change society.
Of course.
All you are is the end of line production unit.
Absolutely.
A production deliverer.
I think we need to sort of be clear, because I know, we're going to get, and after this show, we're going to get complaints like, you guys are telling that education is not important. Well, guys,
It's very
we're not
important,
saying
yeah.
education is not important. Education is very important, okay?
Foundation.
But there's nothing stopping you from doing what we're doing. For example, take me, okay? I've done my education. I've done everything that I had to do. I've got a daytime job, but yet I'm involved in media. Raza's done a degree. You've done a degree. We've all done our academic accomplishments.
degree.
You know, he's in fact, fact, can you believe it? Raza has done a biomedical scientist. I mean, does he actually look academic? I'm not going to answer that, but the point is
extremely academic.
but the point is, okay, that alongside with degrees, education is important. Do your education, but at the same time, get involved. I think with the creative arts, with the media, okay, because this is something that's going to help us move forward, isn't it? I mean, for example, last week, Mohsin, we actually had a guest on, okay, Rocky. He was an advertiser, marketer, right, okay, and he was kind enough to go on air last week and say that, look, if anyone wants advice on how to get into marketing, get in touch. Do you know something? Mashallah, he's been inundated, with requests from students, A-level kids, so I want to get into it. And just from being on TV, using media, the haram, the unstable, place to get into, he has given direction to so many kids.
Well, it is a growing market, and you will get jobs in this field. You've got to be good, you've got to be dedicated, but if we don't get our top standard kids in there, we will also, even in the creativity we're doing, we're going to produce mediocrity. Muslims must reach for excellence.
In everything we do.
Excellent. Don't kid yourself that you're good at something if you're not. And if you aren't good at anything, learn it properly and dedicate yourself. But it does mean some of the brain drain we're getting in terms of the creative arts, the humanities. 80-90% of Muslims who go into university end up in sciences.
Absolutely.
That tells it all for me. It's not good for our future.
We've actually got a live caller, so what we'll do is we'll go to live caller. Assalamualaikum, how are you and what's your name?
Alaikum salam. I'm fine and my name is Muntazir.
Mr. Muntazir, how are you, sir? You well?
I'm good, Mr. Muhammad Jawad. Thank you very much.
Excellent. What would you like to say today?
Alright, so basically, I've been on the phone since the football part.
Apologies.
Right?
This is a committed viewer.
What I wanted to say is, first of all, Manchester United is just like, come on. Alright? Now listen, I've heard all the arguments here from Brother Mohsin's side, right? And look, basically, if Manchester United were to, just take a break, why 7th?
Oh,
maybe third, fourth,
it's our lucky number. Giggsy was 7. George Best was 7. We love the number 7. We've produced the greatest
but
players
that doesn't
in that
mean you
show.
come 7th in the
Ronaldo
table.
was 7.
But clearly he's not with United anymore.
7 is. I think there's a mystical connection with the number 7.
Yeah, there's 7 Jannat, 7 Asman.
Yeah.
Second of all,
7.
But officially 7 won't get in Europe.
Okay.
Europe.
Go on,
you know what? I think David Moyes needs to be taught that. Anyway, carrying on. Just a couple of days ago, after the 5-3 win, I saw a picture of Louis van Gaal unzipping David Moyes, David Moyes unzipping a Louis van Gaal costume.
On Twitter, I saw that,
Which basically meant
nothing's
that
changed.
Louis van Gaal is no better than David Moyes. I'm going to cut the phone now.
It's a work in progress. You don't win the championship in the first month of the competition. This is going to end in May, and we'll see who is going to be lifting the trophy on that day. Let's leave it at that.
How many wins have you guys actually had?
Sorry?
How many wins have you actually had in the Premier League?
We've won one game.
One game.
And that too, they're getting excited.
Quick question, do any of you support Arsenal?
Yes.
I'm an Arsenal fan.
That guy there.
Yeah.
Who's that?
This guy there.
Me,
Raza.
Mohammed.
the mighty Arsenal.
Hey, listen. Do not associate me with Arsenal. I know where you live. I'll come and I'll have words with your dad. Yeah, this is not funny.
This man deserves a lot of sympathy. He deserves a lot of sympathy. He suffered. Was it 8-9 years? I mean, before you got a trophy last
9
year?
years.
I think you won 2 this.
How many handkerchiefs did you get through in that 8 years? Tell me. As an Arsenal fan,
I lost count, honestly. I was doing bed sheets then.
He's got Kleenex tissues.
Duvets.
Duvets that are wet.
I'm going to stand up for my. I'm going to stand up for my team here. Yeah, we may have had that drought. But we held strong, and what did we come out in the end? The FA Cup.
And the Community Shield, don't forget that. Come on.
Oh,
And the
Community Shield, wow.
Did you win it?
Huh?
Did you win it?
Listen, it's Sadka, take
Did you-
it. Take it. It doesn't matter.
Why did you play?
Huh?
Why did you play?
Listen, at the end of the day, yeah, you guys
At the end
needed
of the
it
day,
more.
we're eating out
Yeah,
of this
as soon as you
shield.
won it, yeah, the second shelf was being dusted, yeah, from the trophy cabinet, yeah.
When now we're talking about charity and Sadka, look, we had a chat with Arsene. He was out of a striker, so we said, look, we've got we're going to give you, Welbeck,
That guy.
that man. We're going to give you our best striker. So it was our donation. See, everything's about charity.
Exactly.
Right. And then we'll buy Falcao and Di Maria, and then we'll pay. How much is Falcao getting paid? What, 200 something?
Hang on a second. Who would you rather have? Who
How
would you rather have? Welbeck?
How much did you spend on Di Maria? I mean, come on.
Did you see that chip this week?
That was beautiful.
Did you see the final score?
And secondly,
score?
We're talking about Di Maria.
who would Arsenal fans rather have? Muntazer, you're an Arsenal fan, okay? Who would you rather have? Would you rather have Welbeck or Di Maria? And answer honestly.
Roger, why are you sticking up for your rivals?
Listen, who would you
Can
rather
I
have?
ask?
They're my rivals, I know, but I just want to make a point, yeah, because I think I don't like Arsenal
I
more.
just sense jealousy. I think Islamically this is really out of order because to be jealous of Manchester United, for Muslims to be jealous, I think regardless of your football allegiance, you should practice your Islam and actually say, look, I am not going to be jealous. I'm not going to be jealous.
Maybe
you should have a
he's
mantra.
creative and not conforming to society, which you're standing up for. So
I know you guys don't want to be jealous of the improvement we've made, but please, come on, please.
No, granted, look, I know we're rubbish this year. Look, hands up. It's all tongue in cheek, but we're giving you all a chance. So
Can I
think we should
record
all
that?
be grateful.
Can I record you saying that? Can you say that again?
We have to say again, we've got a
We're
request.
rubbish in defence. Our defence is useless this year
What
so
defence?
far. But watch this space.
What defense?
Excellent. Muntazer, thank you so much for calling in. We really appreciate calls. And if there's anyone else there that wants to basically do Man United bashing, call us. The number is 0203.
This is your chance. You're not going to get it for 20 years after this. Make the most of it.
The number's 0203 515 1234. I got to say, that was probably the best call that I've
had so
ever
far.
had. Yeah, definitely. Do you know what I mean? And Mohsen, are you actually blushing now?
I am.
He is. He's gone pink.
I go sort of a kind of a
Man United colour.
pale shade of Man United shirt. Yeah, it does come on.
A bit like the background, isn't it?
Excellent. Now, obviously, moving on from there, after that wonderful call, I'm quite obviously before we went on air, we were talking very briefly and about some of the projects that you're involved with now,
Yeah.
and I've got to say, and Raza, I'm sure you'll agree that this is so interesting. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, what I've did was, it's not about me, it's about a lot of clever people that I've met on the way. SubhanAllah, Allah's given me one gift.
Yeah.
It's to be able to recognize good, sincere, intelligent people.
Thank you.
All right, thank
Yeah.
you so much.
So that's why I'm in the company I'm in. I'm in that company today. Sincerity, bags of it. Intelligence. Anybody looking for a rishta, look, I recommend both of these.
I'm
guys.
already married,
Oh
look.
dear.
Wife, I did not say that, I promise.
Sorry, Mrs.
Mohammed Jawad.
Mohammed Jawad. I didn't. But he is allowed 3 more. Sorry.
You're going to get me beaten up. Woo. Anyway.
That's going to be the next campaign on Western media.
Save Jawad.
Mohsen is promoting polygamy on channels live.
So what these projects, tell us a bit more about them.
Well, they're on the serious note, creativity, culture and education, that was where it began. But it takes me through this journey of trying to find out and give Muslims a sense of direction. Look, Muslims have been caught in the middle of a street like a rabbit with the headlights of a fast-moving 10-ton truck coming at them. This is how I see Muslims in Britain and Europe. I see us standing right in the middle of the road, looking at these glaring lights about to be run over. That's our situation post 9/11.
Sure.
Right?
Okay,
That's
sure.
literally what it is. And if you're going to, avoid getting run over, you've got to have some ideas.
Yeah.
You've got to have a plan. You've got to think fast, and you've got to get out of that because you ain't got much time.
Totally.
See, now, from our point of view, Muslims tend to do what they do is they react. Cartoon of Prophet Muhammad. Muslims are angry. Let's go get angry on the streets.
Yeah.
Fighting us about niqab and hijab. Muslims get angry. The
Agreed.
media catches us angry, protesting. Muslims deny grooming, get angry, Everything is all about reactionary behavior. What Muslims need to do in this country is to start thinking out of the box creatively and intellectually about what your policies are. What do you stand for?
Yep.
That's what I'm involved in. And one of the examples is Alhambra School and various think tanks that we're developing and many, many more things.
Excellent. So If somebody wants to find out a bit more about this project, where can they find information? Do you have a website? Can they get in contact with you?
Well, to be honest, at the moment, we haven't gone mainstream with it. We have the ear of a lot of very good ulama and of very good intellectuals. And at the moment, we're actually training leadership.
Excellent.
We've started at the position where there's a conference coming up in October in which we're going to be working with some of the prominent organizations within the community. And we're going to actually get people to vision.
Okay.
Where do you see Muslims in Britain in 30 years?
I like it.
What is your vision of Muslims in this country 30 to 50 years from now? When, by the way, 8 or 9 million Muslims will exist in Britain?
Excellent. So what I would ask you to do is definitely keep us up to date at SafeerTV, you know, with the project, okay? And also, guys, for the viewers as well, okay? Please keep an eye on our Facebook page and our Twitter feed, okay? And email us and keep an eye on the website, because we'd be more than happy, you know, to keep you up to date with this project, okay? As and when, inshallah, this project develops, you know, keep an eye on it. You know, we'll definitely keep putting the feeds out there. In addition to that, all of the guests that have been on that have also offered their services. You know, if you want to get in touch with them, please contact us, you know. Give us a call at any time. We'll be happy to sort of point in the right direction. We're going to be going to a break within next, well, very, very shortly. After the break, you guys need to stay with us because we have a very, very special and absolutely amazing Raza's Rampage. We've got an in-house challenge, okay? And you guys will not believe how crazy it is. I mean, again, to Raza's parents, I humbly apologize for what's about to happen to your son. Raza, it's been good knowing you. Let me just say that officially on air. You know,
you say inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un.
No, not quite yet.
I've been waiting to say that.
Not quite yet, guys.
After the break.
No, that's not going to happen.
Well, guys, listen, we will see you very, very shortly after the break. Stay with us and we'll see you shortly.
Might be my last.